Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday, it's November the 5th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. It's election day in the U.S., and the market seems to be rallying today. You've got a nice bullish day today. Fairly quiet market considering it's been bullish. Seems like the voting is going well. Nothing crazy's happened, so seems like just another regular election. At this point, we'll see how the day goes. It's still early. I guess it's 4 o'clock Central Time. I'm starting this video, so it's still early here. The polls don't start closing for a few more hours and on the East Coast, and then they'll slowly close by the hour across the country. So things seem to be going well. So we'll see what the outcome is. Um, but doesn't seem like there's any craziness going on, at least not at this point. So that's all good news. Good news for the market. The market's rallying. I don't know what that means. If that means anything, probably not. Um, But anyway, there it is on your daily chart. You can see a big bullish day. The market has closed now. I believe it's closed, 402. So the market is closed on its very high. It looks like almost closed through the midline here and through the midline of the envelope channel, envelope indicator, which this center line is just a 21 EMA, just like on any of our charts. So there it is on the daily chart. Let's flip over to the 2000 chart. It's going to look similar. It's been a bullish day, and it's been mostly up all day today. There was a correction at some point, but it didn't last long, and the market started rallying in formed a new channel and started rallying again. But let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart. We'll take a look, and we'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap up this day, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. And here's a look at my chart. You can see we had the early on we had the two-tiered channel working up here. We did have a break around 10 o'clock or so, and normally you get a couple of swings up, but this thing just kept going. So once we had this little two-legged correction here, I went ahead and drew a new channel, but of course we got a break and a couple of swings up on it before prices turned down. We did have a pretty nice correction here. Um, it looks like we have a close outside here to me. Not super convincing, but if you zoom on in there, I think you'll see there was a close outside there. New low. We tested that low again on triple test. So I like that higher low going into the 2:30 hour. So not a ton of trades today, but not a bad trading day by any means, but not the you know not the most trades as well. So, but let's zoom in here. Actually, let's step back here. We did have the news item at 9. These other things are just stating that it's election day and they're having presidential and congressional elections. Um, but you can't really, I mean, these are not news items where they're going to announce something at 9:15 or 9:16. They're just making you aware of it. So the only thing we really had to worry about was this 9 o'clock PMI. And so you can see I marked that out. The market actually rallied on that, it looks like. Um, so I don't think it much affected anything. I think we were already rallying to begin with. But let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades and we'll wrap this day up. Okay, 7 o'clock came just as we were bouncing off this trend line here, and we come back and we get a higher low here, but it's also a second entry. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry. So I'd call that a second entry right off the key entry point, right off the EMA, right off the trend line. Um, it doesn't really take off, unfortunately, so you don't get a big runner, but there's easily 3 or 4 points there. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think there's about 4 points there. Yeah, you can see there's about 4 points there. Then it comes back and gives you the same setup again, almost another second entry with a higher low. We did have the break here of this channel, and that's when that kind of set this one, but we come back and verify the blue one here. So I think this was just a temporary spiking channel in the bigger channel. So I liked entering there. If this would have been a good enough signal bar, maybe you enter there too, but I don't like it. There's no signal bar there, so but it does take off here. runs up, and you get a little second entry. I'm not crazy about this. Um, it breaks lower and fails and turns back up, but you can't trade it on an engulf. I mean, this is only like 6 ticks, so it would have been a nice engulfing bar to trade, but it doesn't matter. It ends up being the same entry either way when this one closes. So maybe you take that trade. It's kind of in no man's land, and we already have what looks like an overshoot on this spike and channel, and we already have a break and a new high in place, but a lot of times you'll make two legs, and it is the second entry. Notice that new high, first entry, second entry. It looks a little sideways, a little congested, but hey, it's looking like we might be going to start trending strongly, so maybe you take that trade. Um, I feel like it was worth marking it green. If you want to be aggressive, that's maybe one you want to take. We were overdue to come back to the trend line, though, or I'm sorry, not necessarily the trend line, but the EMA. And you can see we did get that pullback to the EMA here, and we tested that support level, and now you got a triple test. Even though we didn't have a break of this yet, with the triple test and the fact that this thing is pushed through what looks like the upper trend line, a trend channel line a few times, it means it's probably a midline. And so there's a chance we're going to go a lot higher here. You don't know that for a fact, but with a triple test right at the EMA, you're probably better off to wait on the high or low here. But if you do, you don't get a shot at this trade. And so with the triple test, it still qualifies. You could argue this to be green maybe, but I liked it in real time. So I think you have to take that trade. It runs straight up, and then you get another second entry that looks like a repeat of this almost. At least this one is off of the midline. And so I think you can take that trade as well. Again, it's close to being blue. It's a little aggressive, so I'm going to leave it green. There's not a lot of room to scalp out there, but there's a good chance this trade's probably going to rally on up, and of course it does. And it goes exactly where you would think it'd go, to the upper trend channel line, which we didn't know exactly where that was yet. But just going off of this middle of these closes here, I think I guessed at this, and I think this turned out to be almost perfect. Maybe it's a little lower than what I drew it there, but I like it exactly where it's at, so I just left it there. But yeah, maybe you take that trade. Again, it's a little aggressive. It's not one of those sure things, but this midline is a minor key entry point. It is a second entry. It's a decent signal bar. We're in a strong uptrend. It looks like there's more room to go. So it's just one of those you have to decide if it's worth taking it or not. If you're looking for a for sure thing, this is not it. This is in the news item. This happens a few minutes prior to the news, so then you kind of got to be flat the rest of this. And you probably want to get flat on this before 9 o'clock, so that means you could have ridden it up to this, probably this first correction, and you probably would have wanted to exit if you were trading runners. I think it was probably safe again to trade about right here. Now you've had multiple test of this upper trend channel line, but this just looks too congested. We've been bouncing at this midline, so I don't think you can go short there. I think you're better off to wait and see what happens. Same thing here. You get a chance to go long here off the support, but again, it just looks too congested. It's been turning down at the midline. It looks like it's going to turn down there again, even though that's probably enough to scalp out. Turns out to be a good trade, but I just think you have to skip that. I really do. I don't like all the congestion. I don't like the fact that it's turning down at the midline. So I would just sit tight there. And then, of course, you get a failed breakout, comes back, you get a first entry, second entry, but that's your signal bar, and there's no setup there. Just sit tight. Again, this is just too congested. You might argue this looks more like a first entry, second entry, third entry as well, so I don't think you can really argue there's a little small two-legged correction there. It just looks like congestion. It would have worked, and it goes higher. There's a question of whether you could have got in, because you see it kind of, these bars do not overlap. It kind of gaps open there and goes up. It does pull back. It looks like you could have got filled on the pullback, but after trading up that high, I wouldn't risk entering this on this pullback of this bar, because this could just turn down, because there is resistance all the way across there too. I don't think you want to look for shorts yet, so even though you got a second entry short there, just ignore that. And of course, you got a channel working down, close outside, couple of swings to a new low, and then it rallies. This does look like two legs down, like a little hidden second entry, but really I think you have to count this as a first entry, second entry, third entry. And so I think you have to wait on a higher low here. I don't like entering on this. It did get a close outside and two legs to a new low, so yeah, you might can argue that it's green. I would wait on a higher low here, which comes right here, and it's not a good enough setup. Then you got another one of these choppy things. We've seen these all up through here, and they all tended to work, but I don't even see a setup on this one. So maybe you'll get a higher low, which comes here, and again, no setup. And then suddenly you get another second entry, but again, there's no setup there. Higher low comes here, and again, not a very good signal bar. And this thing just keeps, and plus we've already had our break and a couple of swings up, but it does end up setting a new trend line here, in my opinion. So I like this secondary channel here. And then you do get a break here of this secondary one, and you get a second entry long with a very nice signal bar. I like entering that one. Unless you entered this on the engulfing bar, I don't think you could enter here. It's a possibility. It does break lower first, and it is a fully bearish bar, and it goes out the other side. So you could possibly trade that on the engulfing bar if you really wanted to. And you can see you would have had to take, well, you might have already been out. Let me just see what this, I don't remember exactly. So you wouldn't have scalped out. So you would have had to ride this all the way back out. It looked like I mean, it came very close to stopping you out, but then it went higher. But this is a great example of why we put our safety stops where we do. There's a reason, a rhyme and a reason behind why we always put it one tick below the signal bar. Because if you're reading the chart right, those are usually very protected areas. And even though they tested this area, they couldn't get, notice you had a low there already. Now you got a double bottom. Then they triple tested it, and none of them, they could not get it prices to break lower. And so your safety stop is somewhat protected there. And that's why we put our stops where we do. Runs on up, but now you got your break, couple legs up, and you get a triple test here. This one breaks higher and turns down. You can enter that on the engulfing bar. That's mostly all blue. All green. So I like entering that on the engulfing bar. Or you could wait for it to close. It's a triple test. We've had a break of both channels and a new high, and then this triple test here. That's a pretty good sign, and you can see that's a really nice move there. Just a first entry here. There was a second entry here, but I think it's too close to the low. You can't enter that on the engulfing. When it closes, it's just too close to the lows, and you see it kind of struggled here to go lower for a minute before it does finally go lower. And then we bounce down here. You actually got to close outside at a new low here. Then you're headed up, and you try to go higher, and you get a second entry short here. You got to wait for this bar to close, and it's like 19 ticks. So I marked it green, just in case. I mean, it is a second entry. It was a second entry when it went past this bar, so you could still enter here, and it would have worked. But, you know, you're really looking for a retest of this high, and it could be a reversal here because we've already had a break in a new low. But a lot of times you'll get two legs to a new low, so there could have been a whole nother leg coming here, and as bearish as that bar is, there's a good chance you might get a scalp, but it's a really, really big bar. Like I said, it's 19 ticks. I think I would skip that trade, but you can see the break in new high here, which indicates we may be going lower again. So anyway, but it turns back up, and you actually get a second entry long here, but no setup. Um, runs up, makes a high. Uh, and this is actually, in my opinion, a separate channel. I never drew it on there, but in my opinion, this is a separate channel. And you get a close outside a new high, and then it pushes up and makes another leg up. Um, and there's just too much stem, and again, too big a bar, 14 ticks. I think you need to wait and see what happens. And then you get a triple test. Again, it's a really big bar, but I like the setup. This one's 10, only 10 ticks, so it's a little more reasonable. But I like going short there. And this turns out to be a really nice move down, as you can see. We do get a close outside and a move to a new low, and you get a higher low. Now, this was a triple test here. Notice we had a 1, 2, 3, and this is a higher low on that triple test. So we're probably going to at least go back to the EMA, if not higher. And this was a nice move up. You probably didn't get a run or anything out of it, but that's still multiple points up. I mean, it's almost 3 points, so it's an easy scalp. You can't enter here on the first entry, and then you get, even though this is a first entry by the counts, notice there's no break higher till here. It clearly looks like 2 legs back to the EMA, and then you get a 2-bar matching low and a nice bullish bar. It's not quite 230. If you wanted to take that, it's a little aggressive, and it's a little more advanced because it is what I would call a hidden second entry because you don't see the break here. So maybe you take that trade, and you're likely to get a retest of this high, and there's plenty of room there. So I like going long there, and you can see we went much higher before it turned down again. Then you get another move down with a close outside new high, and then you got another new channel. Of course, this is all after 230, so nothing we're going to trade there, but just to show you how the price action still continues to work. Notice you got this channel down. You get a close outside new low. And then you actually get a second entry long there, another second entry long there, and it just keeps chopping higher. And there's another channel here as well. This looks more like a spiking channel to me, like so. And then you had a break, couple legs to the, but we closed almost on the high. But that's how I saw it today. So this market wanted to go higher today, and it did. Most of it came before lunchtime, a little quiet after lunch, and much lower volume after lunch. My guess is everybody went to vote. They hadn't voted, so a lot of traders were probably out voting from lunch on. Because there's not much going on here. You can see look how much volume there was till noontime. And then from there on, not near as many bars. So the volume really slacked off after that. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see what tonight actually brings with election results. So far, it's been really quiet. I haven't checked the news in just the last little bit. Let me just look at the headlines and see. I don't see anything really crazy going on here. I mean, they're saying that there's a few glitches here and there with some voting precincts. I had a little glitch in my voting today. Not sure what to make of it, but I've been voting at the same place for 25 years. I'm a voter. I always go vote. I vote every time there's an election, whether it's local or national or whatever. And I show up today, and they've gone from they always kept a paper voting roll here, and last time I voted, they looked me up in the book and marked me off. Today it was all electronic, and so they put my driver, here in Mississippi we do have to show an ID. Put my driver's license down there, it scans it, pulls me up, and it cannot find me on the voter registration. And so I'm getting a little ticked because, I mean, like I said, I've been voting there for 25 years. There's no reason, I mean, I'm registered to vote. There's no reason I shouldn't be in the voter roll. Luckily, I know the circuit clerk here personally. I called him. He says, I know you're registered to vote. He says, we're having some glitches. He said, just go over to the affidavit table and vote using the affidavit. And so I had the affidavit vote, which they don't run your vote through the machine right there. It's more like an absentee vote or whatever, or it gets counted later tonight. I guess after the polls close. So that makes me a little nervous. Makes me wonder if something funny's not going on. I mean, like I said, it was the first year that they've used an electronic roll to verify your voter registration. And just the fact that I'm not in there when I've been here for 25 years in this location and been voting here for 25 years, just a little, just makes me feel a little uneasy because I've actually volunteered to work the polls in the past. And I know that they look for any reason they can to throw those absentee votes out. I mean, if they're just a funny stain or a wrinkle or something doesn't look right, they'll throw that vote out. And I would have liked to see my vote go through the machine. So it just makes me a little nervous that, there's not some kind of funny business going on. I mean, it's just, in this day and time, we shouldn't be having glitches like that where you're not even on the voter roll and you've been there for 25 years. Something's just fishy about that to me. But anyway, I hope my vote gets counted. I'm keeping my fingers crossed and saying a small prayer that I'm not getting, they're not looking for a reason to throw votes out. Um, but anyway, it was an interesting experience for me, and I don't know if anybody else experienced anything like that or saw anything crazy at the polls. Just looking at the news headlines, it sounds like it's gone pretty smoothly across the country, except for a few glitches, like probably that. Anyway, you're probably not interested in hearing my voting experience, but I thought I'd share that because I thought it was interesting. Um, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow we'll know if we have who our new president's going to be. I know some of these, like I think it was Arizona or somebody says that they won't have their votes known for 3 more days. I mean, I just don't understand that. I saw a joke about it. It's really kind of funny, but it's not really a joke. But I think it's Dancing with the Stars or something. One of those shows. I don't watch TV like that really, but I know there's one where the public votes. Maybe it's America's Got Talent or something like that. But anyway, the public votes and they can tabulate 150 million votes during an advertisement, and we can't even tabulate much, slightly a few million more overnight and know that it's even right. So it just doesn't make sense. I mean, in this day and time, there shouldn't be so many glitches in voting. It should be pretty straightforward. It should be safe. Everybody should be registered. I mean, I'm a strong believer in that. I mean, you can't buy a pack of cigarettes or alcohol without an ID. Everybody's got an ID, so why shouldn't you be able to show an ID when you go to vote? I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Everybody has an ID in this day and time, and if you're registered to vote, you should be able to show an ID to prove it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, and again, hopefully we'll have some kind of answer on who our president will be, and we'll go forward from there. But for now, I'm done. I'm going to wrap this up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.